So we know Liberal Senator Jacinta Price made some comments suggesting the federal government's migration program was favouring Indian migrants to help Labor win votes. The typical political firestorm erupted, of course, with all the usual political elites scrambling to demand an apology. But let's be honest, a forced apology is about as useful as a handbrake on a canoe. It's completely insincere and it almost certainly wouldn't have the desired effect. In fact, it might just backfire. Think about it. It wouldn't satisfy Indian people. It would probably embolden her political rivals, who would see it as a successful attack, and it may even cause a backlash from her own supporters. A forced apology is a fundamentally flawed concept. However, so far, Senator Price has refused to yield. SBS reported, Jacinta Price says she won't apologise over remarks on Indian migrants. A headline from Australia Today said, I don't believe I have anything to apologise about. Senator Price on singling out Indian Australians. Specifically, she said, in the context of discussing the marches that took place on the weekend, it was the ABC interviewer who pushed the issue, who brought up the issue of anti-Indian migration. What I did was point out the facts that, yes, Indian migrants are the second largest migrant group to this country and soon to be the largest. Just a bit of fact-checking. According to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, Australia's population by country of birth, published in April this year, Indian-born people are one of the fastest-growing migrant groups in the nation, coming in second at 916,000 people in 2024, which in the 10 years since 2014 is more than 500,000 increase. Comparatively, people from England are just ahead at 963,000 people, a slight decrease since 2014. In this graph, the growth in numbers of Indian migrants is pretty stark. From 2014 through to the most recent data in 2024, there has been rapid increase. It's hard to imagine this slowing down. Comparatively, migrants from England are heading downwards, so yes, Ms. Price's statistics are on point. Indian migrants are destined to be the largest immigrant group in Australia. It perhaps then comes as no surprise that there are reports of a deal to bring in thousands of Indian workers to Australia to build houses, with the Economic Times reporting recently, Union Minister Piyush Goyal has said that India is chalking out a deal with Australia to build 1 million homes in the country. The project, worth $500 billion, could be funded by the UAE. Indian workers will also be trained in Australia for the purpose. With regards to Indian-Australian voting habits, former Victorian Labor strategist Kos Samaras recently tweeted, here are the booths where the Indian-Australian population is enrolled to vote in their greatest number. Labor's two-party preferred. Of course, these suburbs are not exclusively populated by one group. Need to point that out before someone fails to understand that nuance as well. You can see in the table that suburbs with high Indian Australian population show a strong preference for the Labor Party, keeping in mind what Mr. Samaras noted, that not all people in these suburbs are of Indian ancestry. Despite all the calls for her to apologise, it's not all doom and gloom for Senator Price. The Guardian reported recently, right-leaning MPs rally around Nampijinpa Price as she resists calls to apologise to Indian Australians. Victorian Liberal Senator Sarah Henderson said, Senator Price is a magnificent Australian. She's a warrior for common sense and for the most marginalised, including, of course, Indigenous Australians. She has incredible support right across this country. At no stage did she ever reflect adversely on Indian Australians. And frankly, I condemn people like Labor MP Julian Hill, who went out on television and accused Jacinta Price of racism. And that's frankly disgraceful. National Senator Matt Canavan said he would be glad if Senator Price returned to the Nationals, saying, if Jacinta came back to our team, she'd be the prodigal sister, so to speak. She'd be welcomed with open arms, I'm sure, by most of us. He also posted a tweet saying, I think Jacinta Price is a political rock star. Her best days are ahead, with a picture of the senator draped in an Australian flag. Victorian State Liberal MP Moira Deeming also sent out an encouraging tweet saying, "Senator Price is one of the few with proven mettle in the fight for what's right for all people against the Labor socialist machine and its predictable, automatic fear-mongering amongst the vulnerable every time they need to cover their tracks. Thank you for all your hard work." So what do you think? Should Senator Price apologise to the Indian community because she is being pressured to do so? Or should she stick to her guns?